Trudeau is not just a dictator.
Admiration I actually have for China. Their basic dictatorship is allowing them to actually turn their economy around on a dime.
What the hell? No way!
A society that stands up for people's rights.
Stands up for people's rights. Stands up for people.
Don't want to get vaccinated,
That's your choice.
but don't think you can get on a plane or a train besides vaccinated people and put them at risk.
They're all controlled by a group, and this is higher than Klaus Schwab or the World Economic Forum.
Prime Minister Trudeau, they all have been young global leaders of the world economy. So we penetrate the cabinets. I know that half of this cabinet are actually young global leaders.
Diversity fosters new ideas. New ideas generate the experimentation needed to make the most of
The fourth industrial revolution.
This dark group is systematically overturning economies and countries, breaking away private properties from civilians, and running news campaigns to trick people into voting away their rights. And why are they doing this? Well, the answer is simple. Power and control. Power is interesting because humans have always desired it. Social, political, financial, this is nothing new. But the sheer scale of this operation is 100% unprecedented. See, Canada is owned by, well, a bunch of people at the top.
Canadian billionaires screwing over consumers, taxpayers, and our own Navy. The Irving family, which essentially owns New Brunswick, and I mean like literally like any single premier who has ever been elected has been associated with the family in some way. They own oil, they own shipbuilding, they owned most of the newspapers in the province.
This is the Irving family. J.K. Irving's fortune was estimated to be worth $4 billion by Forbes.
You're a billionaire, you are J.K. Irving, right? Of course.
Now, this family is longtime friends of the Trudeau family, and the whole point of this is, how can Trudeau complain about taxes?
You say you're going to raise taxes on the wealthiest 1%, but what about cutting taxes too?
Excellent. Actually, the reason that we are raising taxes by $3 billion on the wealthiest 1% of Canadians is so that we can cut them by $3 billion for middle-class Canadians.
How, Sway?
That just makes no fucking sense. I mean, it's just bullshit.
We need to tax the rich. We need more tax revenue when his friends don't pay any taxes. This family has 3 offshore accounts in Bermuda. 2 were formed in 1976, and the third, the KC Irving Trust, was formed in 1992.
What is an offshore bank account? They want to put their money in a bank that gives them the best of all worlds. Higher interest rates. It allows you to have more stability. It allows you to make investments that you wouldn't be able to make from within your home country.
See, this is the classic a law for me and a law for thee, because these wealthy families, these wealthy businesses all have influence over the Prime Minister, and quite possibly direct influence by being donors to the Liberal Party.
I think Justin Trudeau has inspired a lot of suspicion by his refusal to, 1, answer questions about his knowledge of Beijing's interference to help him in 2 successive elections. Leaked CSIS and PCO documents now show that Beijing worked to help elect Justin Trudeau. That is an accepted fact.
The tax code allows people to do certain things, create offshore accounts, create corporations, and pay a lower tax rate closer to 15% rather than 50%. These are all things that I do as well in my personal business, because why wouldn't I? The tax code allows for it. But as we go down the rabbit hole a little bit here, it might become a little more clear what this family's trying to do.
Welcome back. Mention the Irvings and everyone has an opinion. Generally, it's a strong one. What is it about this family that causes such reactions?
See, James Irving's son served as the chair executive of Post Media, a Canadian media giant who also owns Canada's Financial Post. And this family owned this media giant pre-iPhone and pre-internet really being what it is today. This is pretty much when all news was in a newspaper, so if they didn't like the source or where the information was coming from, they could easily block it.
Access denied.
And because the Irving family owned the lumber yard, they owned the tree farms, they owned the fulfillment truck centers, they owned the newspapers, They pretty much own the entire process A to Z to running a newspaper company. Now, this is one of the main problems with crony capitalism, where a company can get so huge, too big to fail, too big to take down, and owns the entire process from A to Z in a specific industry, that there becomes no competition. And the key to capitalism is having competition. It's a private way to keep things in checks and balances.
The only way a monopoly can happen is with the help of a government. This is where you see crony capitalism taking place. In 1900 in America, 41% of all of us would be doing agriculture. I wouldn't be running an insurance company right now, or I'd be on a farm. Today, only 2% of people in America are farmers. What happened there? What happened there? That's called innovation.
One of the problems of Canada being so huge with a land mass wise, but so tiny in population, is if you have these giant companies that just own the entire means of production from A to Z, it's hard for other competition to come in. Why don't we have more competition in Canada? Why don't we have more options like the United States?
Pay $110 a month with poor to no reception.
And that's driving discontent.
I think most cell phone servers in Canada are severely overcharging.
Where's the competition?
Now, we know the United States has tons of problems. They also have their own issues with crony capitalism, just like all Western countries at this point, but at least they have a lot more competition to choose from. Why haven't we adopted those values in Canada? Why don't we see it more in our economy? Now, this is where it gets interesting as well. The Irving family also owns an oil refinery, of course, and in St. John's, they're emitting carcinogen benzene.
That's as dangerous as asbestos. If you think you've been exposed, wash all of your clothes immediately, take them off, and get medical care as quickly as possible.
St. John's alone has a higher level than Ontario's entire maximum, a total of 376 tons of VOCs, volatile organic compounds. Now, in 2014, this led to higher cancer levels in St. John's by 50% than that of Fredericton. Now, of course, we can argue correlation versus causation, but it's very, very interesting that in two similar areas, we have two very different results for cancer levels. Now, again, Trudeau is running on a very heavy climate crisis agenda. We need the carbon tax.
The government is introducing a carbon tax on heat, gas, and groceries. Will the government also apply the HST and GST on the tax?
Ordinary taxes will be levied in the ordinary fashion.
Ordinary fashion? We gotta tax the middle class, we gotta tax the rich people, we gotta tax everybody, except for this family, who is literally poisoning our air at record numbers, and it goes unnoticed. Or maybe it is very noticed, but nothing's being done at all. So it would lead us to believe that this family has probably a lot of influence. Even if it's not directly giving money to the campaign, to the Liberal government, it still has an indirect influence, that is for sure. And every rich family who has this much power obviously understands how much power they have, that is for sure. So are they using it to their advantage? Are they abusing it? Most likely. Now, the second way Trudeau is turning Canada into what looks like a dictatorship was during the pandemic when it froze bank accounts.
If your truck is being used in these protests, your corporate accounts will be frozen. The insurance on your vehicle will be suspended. The consequences are real and they will bite. It is time for you to go home. And let me also be clear that we will have
zero tolerance
for the establishment of new blockades or occupations.
If you went against Trudeau's regime, against Trudeau's agenda, and he didn't like it, he could freeze your bank account like this. Common, everyday, middle-class people attending protests, which is our democratic right, having their bank accounts shut down. No, no, no. It wasn't only the organizers of the trucker protests. It wasn't the main people. It wasn't influencers. It was also everyday, middle-class Canadians.
Don't let someone else tell you what to think.
Showing their support for the protest, they were having their bank accounts even frozen. Couldn't pay their mortgage payments, they couldn't buy food for weeks and weeks on end until finally their bank accounts were reopened.
Diversity fosters new ideas. New ideas generate the experimentation needed to make the most of the fourth industrial revolution.
This is one of the final straws where I finally gave up on Canada. Florida, what are you doing? Buying real estate. See ya. Smell that? That's freedom. During this time, we fled to Florida. We escaped the tyranny that was going on and wanted more freedom in sunny Florida, which at the time was one of the only places open. I tell you, it was absolutely insane. It was like the old world.
And are we not free, Mr. Jefferson? These are dangerous times.
Be careful, Mr. Dickinson. Those who give up some of their liberty in order to obtain a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety.
And I will never ever forget that feeling. Restaurants packed, bars packed, bands playing everywhere. Everybody was outside having fun, no masks, nothing. Yet I would check my phone and see all my friends posting on social media.
What we need to do is flatten that down.
What happened was probably one of the biggest events, I don't know, in Canadian history, for me anyway, and I will never ever ever forget Canada for what they did, and especially the Liberal government, and of course especially Trudeau for his divisive words, the way he was treating people who were following legit science, but those scientists were being silenced, which is why we're pretty much escaping Canada in terms of our investments. I mean, even after buying 150 properties as a real estate investor, I am no longer investing in Canada.
Housing isn't a primary federal responsibility.
Housing isn't a primary federal responsibility.
I'm taking all my money out, literally investing it into the US. We're now buying real estate in Florida and Texas. I've sold all of my Canadian properties off and we're only investing there. Now, the reality is if you want to escape this type of crap and protect yourselves and your family, the reality is you need money. You need to be wealthy. And I'm very, very fortunate that I'm in a position where I have a lot of wealth, but the reality is I've worked my friggin' ass off. And if you watch my YouTube here and go back to the very beginning of my videos, you'll see my entire journey from becoming a broke 20-year-old to where I am now. If you want freedom for your family, if you have kids and you're watching this video, we are in a new world now.
The young Trudeau said he doesn't much care what his peers think of his views.
I'm not trying to scare you and be another bear here on YouTube talking about how shitty the world is. It's not that bad living here in North America, obviously compared to the rest of the world, but it's not as free as it once was. Or maybe it was never free, but now the illusion has been stripped away and we know that it's not free. But it is more free if you have money, and one of the best ways to grow your wealth, I truly believe, is investing in real estate. Why? We're not slumlords, we're not providing shitty houses. I provide super high quality renovated houses. I have the best tenants ever, but the reality is it's hard to grow wealth here in Canada. Capitalism is dying, and the reality is we're going down a very, very dark dictatorship path where the investors like myself, we're no longer incentivized to do business here. We're going elsewhere. We're going to Dubai.
Here's exactly how Canadians are getting scammed. Your free healthcare is not free. So if it's actually free for you, it means you don't make any money and you're not contributing to society because healthcare is funded by taxes. They're taking your tax dollars, but at least you think you're gonna get healthcare, right? Wrong. There's Canadians literally dying waiting in the emergency room to see a doctor. And that's one of the reasons why I moved my business to Dubai. The healthcare here is amazing. The safety is great here. The quality of life is just fantastic. The weather is great. And on top of everything, there is 0% taxes here for all personal income tax. So even if you have an online business, all the money you make will go directly into your pocket.
It's a very popular common trend of top entrepreneurs either living in Florida, Texas, or the US, or living in Dubai. And why is that? Lower taxes, less regulation, easier to do business, easier to employ and provide jobs. And that's where the money goes, where it's easy. So if you want to create more wealth for your family, all that I ask for is that you subscribe. It's a free thing you can do right now, and just watch the videos where I show you how to invest in real estate, renovating them better than everybody else around you, renting them out to great families, holding for 5 or 10 years, and you can become wealthy. And more importantly, you can take control back of your life. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.